When you think about several different ways on how to sum up a movie like 50 Shades of Grey, and none of them even sounded like a good idea, then I suppose it's better to skip that part. And mainly go on to talking about the movie. Well, I never really planned on seeing this film initially, so I decided, well, it's there, I can watch it, I don't think it's gonna be that painful, so I watched it. And I could honestly say I can throw a bit of praise in its direction, mainly for the cinematography. This is a very fine looking movie, and the direction is also on par. To say that the people behind the scenes were competent is definitely accurate. There was talent behind this movie. In other words, my retinas weren't exactly violated for 2 hours, but I can't say the same for my ears because, oh boy. And if you want to know my final opinion, this movie was in fact terrible. Yes, I'm the guy that usually gives that review that says, oh, the movie wasn't that bad. This one was even worse. Thank you very much. I'm not going to be that guy anymore, or at least not in this case. This is indeed one of the worst movies I've ever had to endure in a long time. Of course, somebody's going to come to me and say, yeah, it's a woman's story. You're a man, you don't understand it, so you can't appreciate it. No, it's not the case. The story is actually more problematic in more ways than one. First of all, the dialogue. None of it sounds natural. The way the characters communicate with each other, that is not how real people communicate. That's where the problem lies. Nothing feels natural, and the key thing about writing is that you have to basically develop this world that feels real. You have to develop characters who also feel real. They have to interact in a way that feels believable. All those aspects help you to become immersed within the story. 50 Shades of Grey is exactly the opposite of what I spoke about. The dialogue, like I said, is unnatural. The characters, terrible from start to finish. Anastasia and Christian, nah. These are not good characters, not in the slightest. And the main problem with the two lead protagonists is basically this romance that suddenly develops between them, which is so forced it's not even funny. Because at a certain stage where they've interacted in a store, okay, they flirted mildly, but not to the extent where they have actually developed any kind of trust or there's a hint of chemistry or whatever. But the next time they interact after that, they suddenly have each other's phone numbers. And considering that the part at the store was the last time they interacted, there was no exchange of numbers. How do they simply just have each other's numbers? And then this romance continues to develop, and oh my lord, it is so forced. Again, it's forced. I wouldn't even call this a romantic movie. This is something else. It's actually really messed up. And the Christian Grey character, Now, first of all, before I get into the acting, I believe that Jamie Dornan, who plays Christian Grey, was completely miscast. And I don't think he's necessarily a terrible actor. I don't believe I've seen him in anything else, but it's not to say I will avoid anything else he appears in. But here, throughout the movie, he sports this singular facial expression like he's crazed or completely bonkers and he's trying to act sane and it doesn't work, and his line delivery is basically the same, kind of like this one note. The same as his expression, which is constantly, like I said, this bonkers expression throughout, as if he at one stage in his life sat down on a very uncomfortable chair. Although there is a scene in this movie where Anastasia asks, what are butt plugs? Probably the very same thing Christian might have sat down on when he was a kid, because damn, that expression says it all. Imagine if you found that shit on an x-ray. Is that a spark plug? No, nurse. That is a butt plug. And the film also tries to paint this Grey character as some kind of traumatized individual, but he is just basically a tool. There is no logic for the way he is. First of all, he doesn't like being touched. Nobody could put their hands on him. And this made me realize something about the plot, is that he doesn't really have a kink, or he doesn't really have a big thing for this BDSM stuff. It's more to justify a way to bound his partner's arms either above her head or behind her back to ensure she doesn't touch him. And everything is just for show. What I also can't understand is he doesn't like being touched, although it has been shown that he has these visible cigarette burns on his chest, although he doesn't like being touched. But he's okay with basically pressing up against someone, like during sex. How is that any different from being touched? Because touching is like physical contact. Pressing up against someone is physical contact. That doesn't make any sense. And what frustrates me about this Anastasia character, played by Dakota Johnson, is the fact that she goes out of her way to take part in all his weird shit, I don't know what to call them, to try and figure this guy out. And I'm like, sister, why put yourself through this shit to try and understand that guy? It's easy to understand what his problem is. His cuckoo clock is missing a bird. Rather go find a guy whose clock actually has one. And stop wasting time with this dude. So no, this movie is plainly put just frustrating. And what further adds to it is the dialogue. Again, when you have dumb lines like, I'm a virgin. Where have you been? Waiting for you. They actually greenlit this? Or there was actually somebody who published the book? Oh my god. Somebody has really low standards. And then that's also accompanied by a line like, this is 50 Shades of Fucked Up. Can anybody even tell me what that means? That's not something someone would say in reality, but if there is some kind of meaning behind it, please tell me. And then comes the more adult themes of the movie, which is the BDSM scenes or the sex scenes, which are not really all that sexy. I've seen softcore porn movies that were more hardcore than this film. And of course, what makes it weird is they're making love to the songs, all written by Beyonce. Somehow that doesn't work for me. All in all, I know this film is based on a book, which is also part of a trilogy, and I know about the other two films. This film has not really given me an incentive to check out the other two. Although, now that I'm a film reviewer, I'll probably have to kind of like see how could the psychology between the characters make even less sense than it does now. But all in all, I would not recommend this film in the slightest. If the movie is this bad, bearing in mind I never read the books, I can't possibly fathom how terrible the book could be, since it's even longer and apparently more detailed. In other words, I do not recommend this movie to anybody who might just have discovered it. You can either watch something along the lines of Basic Instinct or even Fatal Attraction, any one of those movies, just not this one. So in all honesty, and I say this with pride, that I will give 50 Shades of Grey a 1.5 out of 10. I thought about giving it a higher rating because of the cinematography, because there's obvious talents behind the scenes, and it's not to say I have a problem with the actors themselves. As a matter of fact, I saw Dakota Johnson in another movie called Suspiria. She was great in that movie. I haven't seen Jamie Dornan in anything else. Here, I just think he's miscast and his performance is not good. Although he was a replacement for an actor at the last minute, so this could have been part of a consequence, really. But I would honestly not recommend this movie. There are better options. And before you watch this one, don't even bother with the other two. I am not even going to read the novel, so. But until the next time, you people stay safe, and I'll see you later.